Okay, so welcome back everyone. In the previous video we learned about callbacks as a way to deal with asynchronous functions. So now we are going to learn about promises. Promises, you can say, is a new way to deal with asynchronous functions, and it is very important because we'll be using a lot of promises in our coming videos. So we're going to be dealing with the same exact issue which we dealt in the last video. So I'm going to copy and paste this code here, but there's going to be a change in the post fruits. So I'm going to write const post fruits equals to, it takes a parameter as usual, but now what we'll do is we'll return something called a promise. Return new promise. It takes in two parameters, resolve comma reject, and then the syntax for this function is the exact same after this. Now we're going to take this part, Control C, and paste it here. We're going to remove this callback because that doesn't exist anymore, and we're going to set a variable let err equals to false. If there is no error, then resolve the promise. Else reject the promise with a message something went wrong. Alright, so what is a promise? A promise, you can say, is what the name says, is it guarantees that either something will be performed, and if some error happens it will be rejected. So now how to use a promise in the syntax? So we can do post fruits kiwi, oops, the spelling, and we can use the dot then operator, and we can pass in get fruits in that, and we can use the dot catch, and if there catch an error, and we can console log the error. So what basically happens is, this promise, if there is no error, I've set the error to default as false. If there is no error, it will resolve the promise. What this resolve does is basically, if when we call postfruits.kiwi and it returns a resolved promise, then this dot then part will be performed, and get fruits will be called after this has been fruits.push has been performed, and this function will be called, and our printing will be done. However, if something wrong occurs in between, then this promise will be rejected. So if this return new promise rejects something, then it will come to this dot catch part, and whatever it gets in this reject, it will just print it. So just to demonstrate this, first of all I'm going to run this to make sure everything's working fine, and we can see apple, banana, orange and kiwi, like the exact same thing before. It's going to get printed. Now suppose if I set this error to true from the start, and if I did it something like this, it says something went wrong. So this is how you can write a promise. Basically a promise is just another way to deal with some of these asynchronous functions, and the syntax here makes much more sense than this callbacks, because in this we're just calling the function after this. But in promise we get a guarantee that this will be executed after that has been executed, and we can also check for errors in promises. So this is all about promises. In the next video we'll be learning about async and await functions, and that is also very important. We'll be using it a lot in the course of the video. So see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.